What's up, guys? Mr. Royan's coming at you. On this slide, we're talking about three forces of geological change. And I just want to take a second and read through the definition of them and give you a few examples. Okay, so the first one is weathering. And weathering is the breaking down or disintegration of substances such as rocks and minerals by physical, chemical, or biological processes. And what that means is it's something like a floodwater. Think of a flood pounding against a canyon wall and wearing it down. Think of have you heard of the Grand Canyon? You know, there's a river that runs through it, and that river flowed for hundreds of thousands of years and carved it down. That's why there's a Grand Canyon. It's a canyon wall. It wore it down. Or, and this might be something we're all more familiar with, as someone who drives in this area during the wintertime, and as people who have ridden in cars and seen the streets around here during wintertime, another example of weathering is when water gets into the cracks of something like the pavement or the asphalt of the street, and it freezes, it breaks the rocks in the pavement apart. That's weathering. So when it snows and that water melts and gets into the cracks of the street, it freezes and it expands and boom. That's why the streets get all nasty during the wintertime, or they get all bumpy during the wintertime. The second geological force we're going to talk about is erosion. And that is the movement of sediment or soil from one location to another by means of water, ice, or wind. Water, ice, or wind. Yeah, wind is another form of geological change. I mean, wind can be pretty strong, right? We've all seen trees blown over from strong winds. So wind, like water, is a natural way of change in our world. And erosion is like, imagine a tall hill and there's a rainstorm, and it comes and it just washes the dirt from the hillside. It's taking, you might not notice it, but as it happens over, longer than we'll ever live, it's going to maybe take that hill down. If it keeps raining, it's going to keep taking dirt away from that hill, and maybe the hill will be carved out a different way, or maybe the hill will be gone altogether. Who knows? Or think about wind. Wind, for instance, maybe you've seen it in movies or TV shows where the wind's blowing in the desert and it's blowing sand. Wind blows sand to other locations. Okay? So wind is another form of erosion. If there's a sand dune, wind comes, it blows that sand away. And it, from one location to another, gone. Then the third definition we're going to look at is deposition. And that's when particles carried by water, ice, or wind are deposited, dropped in another location. Okay? And an example of deposition, if you look back up at the video about 2 slides earlier, there is a glacier and it's going down a hill. And the demonstration shows you the glacier picking up pieces of the rock and carrying it with it. And then it just drops it and forms moraines, which is a definition we'll get to in a later lesson. But it picks it up, drops it, deposits it there. And another example, something you may have seen if you've ever gone to maybe the dunes or the ocean. But when a wave comes crashing in and it carries sand from the bottom of the ocean, just a wave dropping sand. It's moving sand to a different location. It's dropping it. It's carrying it, dropping it. That's deposition. Deposit. So, weathering, erosion, deposition. Boom.